What if everything you thought was going wrong in your life was actually the game working perfectly? What if the confusion, the delays, the moments where you felt completely lost were not signs that you failed, but signals that you're exactly where you need to be? You've spent years trying to get out of the struggle. But what if the struggle was never the obstacle? What if it was the point? Here's what almost no one in the spiritual community is willing to say out loud. The idea that you need to transcend the human experience to evolve, that the goal is to rise above the game, to detach from the physical, to somehow graduate into pure consciousness. That idea might be the very thing keeping you stuck. If that landed somewhere in your chest just now, good. Stay with it. Because that discomfort is the door. If you found this channel and something in this already feels familiar, like a memory more than a discovery, you found this for a reason. We go deep here. Real deep. Not inspirational poster deep. Soul level. Why am I here? What is actually happening deep? Hit subscribe if that's what you came for. This is your place. Now, let's talk about the game. Bashar has said something that, the first time I heard it, I had to stop and sit with for a long time. He said that physical reality is a game, not a punishment, not a test, not a simulation designed to trap you, a game. And he wasn't being dismissive or metaphorical in the way people throw around, "It's all an illusion." He meant something precise. He meant that physical reality has rules, structure, levels, feedback mechanisms, and that you, as a consciousness, chose to enter it fully aware that you would temporarily forget you chose it. That's not a mistake in the design. That's the design. The forgetting is the feature, not the bug. Think about what makes a game genuinely compelling. Think about the best game you've ever played, or the best film you've ever been completely lost in. What made it work? The stakes felt real. You didn't sit there thinking, this is just pixels or these are just actors. You let yourself be pulled in. You agreed at some level to be affected. The joy, the tension, the relief, all of it required your willingness to treat the unreal as real, at least for a while. And here is the key. You knew, somewhere underneath, that you were safe. The game couldn't actually destroy you, but that knowledge didn't ruin the game. It made it possible to fully play. Your life works the same way. Your higher self, the part of you that exists beyond this timeline, beyond this particular frequency band, chose this game with full knowledge of the rules. It knew the forgetting was coming. It knew the challenges you'd face. Not because it wanted you to suffer, but because it understood something you've temporarily lost access to, that the richest, most transformative experience of consciousness requires genuine stakes, requires real forgetting, requires a you who doesn't remember, because only that you can truly discover. Just like a reader who rereads a mystery novel already knowing the ending loses the experience of suspense, your higher self gave you the gift of not knowing, so that when you find your way back it would feel like arriving, not like recalling. The game was never against you, it was always for you. Here's where it gets bigger, much bigger. Bashar doesn't just speak about individual transformation. He speaks about civilizational transformation. He speaks about a moment, the moment we are in right now, where humanity as a collective is approaching what he calls a threshold frequency shift, a point where the accumulated consciousness of enough individuals choosing alignment, choosing excitement, choosing to play the game consciously rather than reactively, begins to cross a critical vibrational threshold. And when that threshold is crossed, contact becomes possible. Not contact as in lights in the sky, though that's part of it. Contact as in a formal, conscious, mutually chosen encounter between humanity and other civilizations. What Bashar calls other expressions of consciousness, existing at frequencies we are only now beginning to approach collectively. He says this directly. Extraterrestrial contact is not something that will be done to humanity. It will not arrive as invasion or rescue. It will arrive as resonance. It will happen when enough of us are vibrating at a frequency that is compatible with open, transparent, non-threatening exchange. When the field we collectively generate, through our individual states of being, becomes a match for theirs. Do you feel the weight of that? This is not abstract. This is not metaphorical. Bashar says we are the generation standing at this threshold, and the game every single one of us is playing in our individual lives. The game of finding our frequency, aligning with our excitement, releasing the beliefs that lower our vibration, is not separate from this larger civilizational arc. It is the civilizational arc, playing out one human life at a time. Think of it like a radio tower. A single radio tower doesn't broadcast far, but hundreds of them, tuned to the same frequency, networked together. They can reach everywhere. Each person who does the inner work, who shifts from fear-based consciousness to love-based consciousness, who chooses their highest excitement in this moment, is not just changing their own life. They are adding signal to a collective broadcast. They are contributing to a frequency field that, when it reaches sufficient strength and coherence, will be undeniable to those watching from elsewhere in the cosmos. Just like a tuning fork doesn't need to touch every string in a room, it simply needs to vibrate at the right frequency, and the matching strings will respond on their own, the resonance traveling through the air. Your individual alignment doesn't need to change every person around you directly. It adds to the field, it strengthens the signal. The matching frequencies respond. This is not poetic. This is physics. This is how frequency propagation works. The game was never against you. It was always for you. For me, this clicked not as a grand revelation, but in a very quiet moment. I was sitting with the frustration of feeling like my personal work, the inner work, the alignment work, felt somehow small against the backdrop of everything happening in the world. Like, what does my vibration matter when the world looks the way it does? And then I encountered this teaching, and something settled. Not just the idea that I matter. I'd heard that before and it had always rung slightly hollow. But the specific mechanism, the physics of it, the understanding that consciousness isn't separate from reality. It is the medium through which reality propagates, that my state of being is literally contributing to a field. That changed the texture of the work entirely. Now, what do you actually do with this? Here's the practical bridge. Bashar consistently points to what he calls your highest excitement as the mechanism for alignment. Not the grandest excitement, not the most impressive excitement, the highest excitement available to you right now, in this moment, even if it seems small. Even if it's just choosing to make the coffee you actually want instead of the coffee that's already made. Even if it's sitting outside for 10 minutes instead of scrolling. Excitement, in Bashar's framework, is not an emotion. It is a navigational signal. It is your higher self communicating through your body, telling you, this direction leads toward your most aligned timeline. Follow it. Follow it completely and with zero attachment to what it's supposed to produce. This is not about chasing thrills. This is about the art of micro-alignment. Because the version of yourself that is compatible with contact, with expanded reality, with the civilizational shift Bashar describes, is not a future version of you that arrives after enough work. It is a frequency. It is a state of being. And you access it not through grand gestures, but through the small consistent act of choosing your highest available excitement over and over, even when nothing in your external reality confirms that it's working. It's not about effort, it's about frequency. Think of a GPS. It doesn't care how hard you've been driving. It doesn't calculate your effort or reward your persistence with a shorter route. It responds only to your current position. Change your position, the route updates instantly. Your state of being is your position in the frequency field. Change your state, not your circumstances, not your history, not your plan, just your state, just your frequency in this moment, and the route to everything you've been reaching for updates instantly. The game was never against you. It was always for you. And here is what this means for the larger picture. Every time you choose your excitement, every time you release a fear-based belief, every time you choose to trust the design rather than fight it, you are not just moving toward the life you want. You are contributing to the collective frequency that Bashar says will make contact possible. You are one of the generators. You are part of the network of tuning forks that is quietly, persistently shifting the signal of this civilization towards something it has never been before, toward a version of humanity that can stand in open, transparent relationship with other forms of consciousness in this galaxy, toward a game that from the inside looks like chaos, but from a wider view looks exactly like what it always was, a species waking up. You came here feeling like the game was against you, like you'd been doing the work and the reality you wanted was still not arriving. And here is what I want to leave you with, not as comfort, but as orientation. What if the gap between your efforts and your results is not evidence that you're doing it wrong? What if it's evidence that you're standing at the exact edge of a threshold, that the very frustration you feel is what it feels like to be the leading edge of a frequency shift? The most important players in any game are always the ones who feel the most resistance, because they're the ones pushing against the boundary. And boundaries are exactly where breakthroughs happen. The contact is coming. Not from outside, from inside first. From enough of us waking up inside the game, recognizing what it is, and choosing consciously, freely, excitedly, to play it at full power. You are not waiting to be found. You are the signal. The game was never against you. It was always for you.